Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right, Rich. You coming in next week for the guitar camp, huh? I'll play a little something, see if everybody has a good view. All right, so chord melody. Should I just start talking about kind of how to develop some chord melody chops? I think it begins with just playing a scale. And then putting chords to it, ones that you know to start. Obviously, we know that C chord. That's nice, C6. For the D note, simply put the D in the C chord, or this is nice, C major 7 with the 9 on top. E note, C chord. Right, most of us know that inversion. Then the F, G, we have that C major 7th. A, right, a C6, major 7th. And then your root note, C. And then you can keep going. Right, so if you have your guitars, I'm just going to go over this nice and slow. Again, we're just taking the C scale up to the high G. And then we're going to put chords to it. It's kind of your default set of chords for the notes of the scale to get us started with chord melody. That's a 6/9. And descending. right, so it's a good idea to, you know, I'm sure this will be up on the YouTube channel for decades to come, but it's a good idea to just go over those major chord forms to begin. I'll move on to minor and then dominant just so it's documented and you could, you know, stop and get the inversions that work. It's not the only inversions you can use. You have options. Obviously on C, you can hit a regular C chord or a C sixth or a C major seventh. You have options. It's good to have options, eh? So any questions? I'm just looking at the chat thing here. Any questions at this point, or should I just kind of keep going? Did everybody just leave maybe? Okay, well, I'll just go on to minor because I'm not seeing anything on this chat coming up. The last one I see is, oh, keep going. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Grazie mille, eh? So, minor. Let's see what this. Okay, yes, I will get to the half diminished and everything, obviously. So now the minor. You have C minor seventh. It's a good default version. C minor 9, one of my favorite chords. And then the third, C minor 7th. And then the F note. And then the minor 7th, the root bass. Now minor 6. I mean major 6th over the minor chord. Then minor 7th. And then root, first finger probably, and then the 9th, 3rd or 4th finger. 3rd is you have your minor 7th, extend the pinky, right? Sounds like blue bossa. Right? This is the way we develop chord melody. And we start hearing things while we're doing these scales. So, once again, I'll just run that. Now, this is a great chord because you always have the option to put that chord in fourths instead of the C minor 7. So it's a great option. You can do that kind of thing where it moves in the middle of the chord. Don't you think it would be easier just to do trident and then across the neck and then? Yes. I mean, there are many, you know, there's many different ways to approach this. I think just to start, it's good to play the scale with the chords, you know, and obviously you have options. So that's it for the minor. Then dominant, C7, the 9th or minor 7th, 9th. The 3rd, the suspended, the 9th, right, which is this chord in the middle strings. The 13th, 7th, root, 9th, 3rd, suspended, and the high G note. Okay, so now, what about all those other notes, right? Chord melody, you don't always have to put a chord on every note. It's good to mix it up. All right, so if we were to take that major chord, the major chords, right, and just simply play single note, the notes in between the scale tones, because, right, the chromatic scale, all 12 notes. Okay, another approach is to play the chord before it, chromatic chords. Or just single note. Okay, a couple of different approaches you could you can do there. So now let me just go to the questions here. Well, I'm building the chords. You know, I'm looking, all chords are either major or minor. Let's start with the three elements that make up music. Okay, you have melody, which is the melody. You have harmony, which is the chords. We'll get to that in a second. And then you have rhythm. Okay, so now you have under harmony, you have major, which is root, third, and fifth. Then you have minor, which is flat 3. Okay, so you need to learn your inversions to get started. There's plenty of courses on learning inversions. Okay, because then you take your triad, this C chord in open position is C, E, G, and then a high C. It's a 3-note chord. And then we're just adding the D note. Right? Then the E. And we get this inversion with the major 7th. Okay, so those who are kind of beginners need to do a little work with the inversions first. Reharmonization. Well, I think that's, I mean, it's knowing what the different chords sound like, the chord types. You have C major, C major 7th, C 6th, C with the 9th, C with the 2nd in it. Right? See how different those chords sound? Bigger chords, little chord clusters. Right? So if we did say Georgia, the beginning to Georgia, C major 7 to C major 7. Okay, if we just look at that, we could just go C major. We could do C6. We could do C major 7 to C6. Right, you hear that? You have that going up. Melody's going up and lines going down. Okay? Open E string. Or just let the chord ring underneath. Melody. Options. Options. You could try playing just the 3rd and 7th of each chord, just the 2 notes, but it frees. Well, yeah, that's true. The 3rd and the 7th of C. Absolutely. Nice to get the bass in there. On the B. Well, the G string, this is again to get you started. Okay, obviously you go to the G string. There's no, you know, this isn't the way to learn chord melody. If you don't do it this way, then you're never going to learn chord melody. It's just a way that I found that has helped to get people started with all of these questions. Because obviously when you have a chord that's on G, on a C, this works, this works. That's where you can start checking out your different reharmonizations. So, okay, now dominant. Okay, so you have this E7, you have 13. You have that with the 7th in the bass. Open E. You can put the flat 9 in. Okay, now. Okay, that's nice because I tried to break up from all those chords. Right? You see the melody out front. You don't always have to put a chord every time. When the chord does come in, it sounds really good. So, okay, here is the E note on the G string to address about the G string. We have to always remember the same note's always 5 frets away, or in this case 6 frets away going from the G down. But from the B, right? So we have to look for chords. You have this C chord with the C, you have that one, and then you have this C. And there's your the major 7th, or a 4-note chord if you want to use all 4 notes. So here's a case of where we can put it on the 3rd string, right? Or move it up to this with the 3rd in the bass. Options. It's great to take one phrase, Georgia. See, the first time I went, this time I went up here. Okay, that's the same 13th chord we did down here on the E7th. So that's why we need to, you know, look at options and just take again the 2 chords, the 2 beginnings, and try to come up with 10 different versions of that. That's the way you start to, you know, connect your ears to your fingers so you can color the painting, if you will, color the arrangement with different sounds like major 7th, 6th, the 9th. Just knowing what those chords sound like and feel like can go a long way. Any other questions? I mean, Ellen's Game of Games is on. Just kidding. Let me play a song through a chord melody, and then we can, maybe you can ask some questions, okay? And this is based on kind of putting a chord in once in a while. I'm even going to do that in the solo. Okay, having fun. What's better than playing? I'm really loving this new Eastman guitar that they sent me. It's really in tune. I really love it. I would say a course for this is the 1, 2, 3 chord melody is really good. It really goes over all this in detail. There's a couple clips on YouTube if you want to check it out, you know, and it's really good because it gets you going again. I mean, to master chord melody is just, you know, next to impossible. So main thing we got to remember when we're playing chord melody is the melody out front. Got to hear the melody. And if you're going to play in time, the beat. New chords. Well, it's best to start learning chords. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, Rich. You know, I was just going to bring that up too. If you play a melody, okay, it could be any melody you want. Just for lack of okay, so there's a melody. Okay, we're in F. Okay, a lead up, downbeat, so you want to hit a chord. Okay, that is kind of my default. My default F major 7th when I'm on an A note. And I look for the next A note on the next string. And I have my default major 7th. Okay, now, let's not forget about chromatics. What I was saying before was if it's a note outside of the scale, like that's not in the major scale, that note. So you can either hit it single note or move the whole chord. I kind of like that. Okay. So that's an F7th. Okay, now I can either hit the single note and go to my default inversions. Don't forget, whenever you have a dominant, you can use the minor 7th. Now B flat. Okay, there's the same inversion I used back here on the F, but now we're on the B flat. Right, and right down the scale, that melody goes back to the A on the F chord. Okay, and more. F7th again to the B flat. To D minor 7th. B flat minor, if you want to put that in there. That's a reharmonization, really. Right? Remember we went over that? The suspended to the C9 F. And those were all the default inversions we went over in the C scale, only in the key of F. And now going F to B flat, right? Because that's what the song does. A lot of songs go in the 4 chord. How you play those single melodies improv between the chords? Well, yes and yes, and sort of. I'm really into chromatics, And yes, I've internalized a lot. I mean, mainly connected my ears to my fingers. That's what my teaching is all about, is connecting your ears to your fingers, because we're hearing the music, but where do you put your fingers? And it's hard on the guitar because you have a lot of options. 4 of the same C notes right there. Right there, 4 E notes. That little phrase. I mean, I could come up with 50 different ways to play that little couple note phrase. Okay, so what music school did you go to? I went to a music school during high school. I would go a half a day to a music school and then a half a day to high school in Long Island, Syosset, New York. It was kind of a fine arts, New York State technical school, really, but for music, dance, and drama and art. So it was really, really wonderful. And I graduated a half year early from high school and went on the road because I was working so much. So I didn't go to music university. Really, the first time I stepped foot into a music university was teaching, believe it or not. Kind of funny. And then I started the jazz guitar department at Arizona State University through a grant. They brought me out there in 1996 and 97. And I got that up and running for them and headed right back to New York. So I've studied with my first real teacher was on guitar was a fellow by the name of Jimmy George from Long Island. Just simple guy, would play gigs. He taught me how to play. He didn't know how to read music, but he would learn Mel Bay Book 1, page 1, and then I'd come over for a lesson and he'd show it to me. So he kind of taught himself how to read because he knew how important it was. And I was 7 years old at this time. And I was playing along with Django records, Django and Les Paul records and Charlie Christian records. So, and then Howard Alden was my next great teacher. Dear friend from many years ago. I met Howard, I think I was 16 or 17 and he was 18 or 19. So, and we obviously hit it off. And when he moved to New York, he would go on the road for months at a time and I would sublet his apartment. And I was working a ton of gigs because I knew how to read and I knew how to play rhythm guitar and a little tenor banjo. So I was able to play a lot of Dixieland gigs. And I made quite a bit of money working 10, 11 gigs a week and knocking on doors. And then Gene Bertoncini was my next guru. So he is amazing mind for the guitar. And then, you know, I mean, obviously all the greats. I took some lessons with Joe Pass. I'm a huge Jim Hall fan. Ed Bickert. I mean, the list goes on. I've had the opportunity to play with many of my guitar heroes, Herb Ellis, Tal Farlow, Marky Pizzarelli, Les Paul. So I have a dream every once in a while that I get the opportunity to play with Django, and I couldn't find the pick. So I freaked out. Okay, what am I listening to at the moment? Actually, I'm listening to Wagner. Killed the Wabbit. I guess someone told me the pieces from the Bugs Bunny thing, because one of my students went to the Wagner show in San Francisco. They have a very famous opera show. So that's kind of what I'm listening to. And then I was just listening to some Charlie Christian today, because a few of my students are working on a groove which is just kind of D minor, kind of like a vamp, almost like Sing, 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 Benny Goodman. Just a little swing vamp just on one chord. And they were kind of curious what to do. So to get back to your question, yeah, I do a little bit of... You may want to start with just a D minor groove, play lines, and accompany yourself. That's a great arpeggio to start with. 1, 2, 3, 5. Neighboring tones. Chromatics. Right? So you could kind of comp for yourself playing lines. I mean, I'm a big fan of chromatics, and I think that's eventually the key. That's the point that I get to with the almost 300 students now that I've had online. That's the point we get to. The chromatics, like that's how you. It's kind of like the glue that formula that keeps everything together. The arpeggios, the patterns, the riffs. I mean, so we learn so much stuff. The chromatics keeps it together. When I did the CD with Jimmy, Bruno, and Howard, wow, that was a trip, that CD. That was a lot of fun. We used to practice a couple times a week. We'd go to Philly. Jimmy would come to New York, and we just practiced those charts like crazy, almost to the point where we didn't even read them anymore. So that was in 90-something. 95, 94, 93, long time ago. I can't believe that. Yes, you do have default fingerings. It's very good to have your positions. I'm a big fan of horizontal as well. Okay, so no, I didn't study with Ed Bickert. I'm just a huge fan. I've tried to meet him many times. I was supposed to go to Toronto last April and meet him, and then I hit a tree. So I was out of action for a little while, and that was a big regret. But anyway, let's see. If I play a melody and want to intersperse chords over some of the notes, how do I know what chords to play? Well, again, you have to know the chord tone. Okay, again, if we have Georgia, okay, if we're in C, we know it's a third and a fifth. That's the first thing we got to know. The chord, C, right? You have a C chord and you have a melody. Now, again, I go to my default C major 7th. I kind of, know that that's C major 7th with that third on top. Same with the G. So now, there's my chord melody. Then I know it's in E 7th and the melody is so. Again, I have my default inversions. A minor. D7. Okay, so I know that's kind of a simplistic way of, approaching a complicated subject, but that's really the way you do it. You need to, like, what song, Jeremy, what song do you know the melody to? Hopefully I can, how should you practice playing chords and melodies at once? Well, I would say start with the scale. just like I started the whole session off. Just start with the scale. Put chords to it. That 2-5 turnaround. I think chord progressions 1, 6, 2, 5. I'm working on a 20 chord melody 1, 6, 2, 5 riffs, because that's in every song 1, 6, 2, 5. I don't mean every song, but a lot of songs are 1, 6, 2, 5. Actually, I have one out, Jazz Turnarounds. There's 90 different turnarounds for a 1, 6, 2, 5. So you have your 1, 6, 2, 5. And I would just come up with a bunch of different ways. Common tones. That's right, 1, 6, 2, 5 substitution. So there, I'm just going up the C scale and going through the 1, 6, 2, 5. So, witchcraft. Great tune. I will make sure I'm working on that one, okay? Yeah, that's what I would do. There's your F with the A in the bass. So an F chord, or an F triad. Okay? With the melody on top. I wish I knew the tune all the way through. That's a great tune. Heart and Soul, Blue Moon, right? Exactly. 1, 6, 2, 5. I'll do it in C. 1, 6. Two, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1. Now the same thing, but in a different key. F minor 7, B flat 7, E flat, G, D7, G7, and then back to. Thank you, Tommy Emmanuel. Okay, I like the melody of chord, but can't. Okay, so here's a good example. Melody, then chord. It's a great way to approach a chord melody. You play the melody. 1, 2, 3, 4, D7. Melody, chord. 3, 4, 1. Melody, 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 chord. doesn't have to be a big, complicated, big deal. Some melody notes, and you throw in chords you're comfortable with to get started. And again, a good way is just to play the scales and put the chords to them. Okay? Yes, absolutely. The understanding and applying the chromatic scale focuses on using chromatics right in between the arpeggios, the chord tone. Right? So that's the 1, 3, 5, major 7. And for the minor. Okay, and then I just have a bunch of different riffs. Right, you see, I'm putting the chromatics in between the arpeggios. Right, you see that, how I'm throwing them in there? A good way for pentatonics, which I'm also working on a new course on pentatonics too, which is pretty cool because I came up with, say, A minor. Okay, now if I just start adding one note and make it a 6th note instead of penta, I call it pentatonic plus 1. Right? That's the pentatonic. Adding one note. The 2nd. And always play backwards. Ascending and descending. Very important. Very important. Okay, now I'll add the I'll add between 4 and 5. I'll start with some familiar ones. Okay, now I'll add the 6th. Right, that's a pentatonic with the F sharp, with the major 6th. Okay, now I'll add the, I don't know, how about the major 7? And then neighboring tones and the chromatics, don't forget about that. Right, because if you do your pentatonic, and add one note, it really comes out. That's pentatonic with one note, the F sharp. Okay, and it's nice because you could build musical ideas. You could really say something instead of just blasting off scales. Check out, oh yeah, the channel. Thanks, Jeff. The channel's awesome. I'm having so much fun with that channel. A guy today or yesterday, he's looking to get the gig in a big band. So he sent through the repertoire. So everybody in the classroom's like helping him with rhythm guitar techniques and strings to use and the amp, the right setting, different videos. And it's like everybody's like, go get the gig. So it's really a lot of fun, that channel. And there's a ton of stuff in there now. Let's see. What else? Let's see. If we're going to do some blues and we want to throw a chord in once in a while. It's just a good study to kind of back yourself up. It really helps you connect the chords and the soloing. Okay, it also teaches you not to play too much when you solo. Make an idea, stop, and then accompany yourself. Kind of answer yourself with the chords. Chromatic scale, just a nice way of putting it, so it's a little something different in there. Okay, great. You could do it with tunes too. I think you get the idea there. I use my ear. I'm so used to knowing what I'm hearing at the moment, and I want to get it. You know what I mean? I mean, my ear is so well trained that when I hear this note and I think E minor, I can hear 5 different chords that I have an option of that I pick at the moment that I want to color it with. And so it's not a process. It's just like I know all the sounds. I know the minor major 7th sound. I know the minor 7th sound. The minor 6th. The natural minor 6th. Chord 4ths. 3-note chord. Do I want a 9th close by? I know all those sounds and I pick from them. So it's just years and years of study, but also more than even study, just songs. You got to learn, you know, a couple hundred songs at least before you start getting good. You know, it's same with rock and roll guitar. It always amazed me. You learn some rock and roll. If you want to learn guitar, you learn some songs, you know. We always fool around with those quotes, but I mean, you know, you learn songs. Classical music, you learn lute solos. You start with songs. And jazz, for some reason, everybody thinks they got to learn a ton of theory. It's about the songs. It's a great era of song. Pizzarelli type chord soloing. Very, it's called scrub-a-dubba. And it's a lot of chromatics, like when Bucky explains the blues. He does it slow, but you can pick up the tempo and do it. So it's in C. He uses this ninth inversion. Right, that's the whole Bucky style. He does it on Satin Doll too. Another way he goes right down. Chromatics. So a lot of that is with the, if it's going to be that's the kind of Bucky style stuff. A lot of right hand and a lot of chromatics, just moving those chords around. No theory behind it, just fun and swinging. I was 5 years old when I started playing ukulele. And then 6 years old, I started the guitar. And then by 7, I was studying. A TrueFire lesson, the one-off lesson ends up you get probably 3 or 4 different video exchanges. I really want to make sure you learn something. So it's not one of these things where you send me, a video of yourself playing, then I send you something back, and then we're done. Okay, there's a couple of different responses because I really want to make sure that you get something out of the lesson. All right, the classroom is awesome because it's unlimited, and I've had students in there for 6 years now, 5 years, since it started, some of them, and we keep going. We keep getting better. Some beginners, just like a few months of getting it together, or even some advanced players, like just a few months of, give me some stuff to work on, eager to learn. So I give them some stuff, and then that's it for them, so which is fine too. Joe Pass was, first of all, I was a huge fan. So his, songs, he stressed that, learn songs. The guy knew a zillion songs. The other thing, which I thought was cool, we had, the first lesson was probably about 4 hours. The first 2 hours, I changed the strings, and he smoked cigars. And I brought him a box of blueberry muffins. So he ate muffins, coffee, and cigars, and I changed the strings, and he was telling me all about his German wife and, a bunch of stuff that was going, asking me questions. I was heading to a gig. He said, how much you making? I said, $150. He said, that's good. Some nights I don't even make $150. So I thought that was pretty interesting, that, wow, Joe Pass is not making $150 some nights. Crazy. So he showed me, and then he picked up his guitar. We played couple of tunes, and it's just what a great feeling to be sitting right across from him, and Joe Pass is doing his thing. But then he showed me a very cool exercise, which has to do with chord melody too, because a lot of his chord melody was playing scales up to the chord tone. That's a lot of style was scales up to the chords, up to the melody tone. So, A chord with an A on top. Play the scale. And descending. Okay, then A minor. Obviously, you have some choices. I just chose Dorian. Then to A7, dominant 7. Again, you have some options. Diminished, superloquium, mixolydian. Okay, then you move up to B flat, but you keep the A note. Play the scale. Then minor. Then up to B. Then up to C. Minor. And go through all 12 keys with that A note on top and play the scale. So great, great exercise. Did I change my playing style? I did. I don't know about my style. I did, actually. I think I got better, believe it or not. I mean, it's feeling real good. There's no pain when I play. It still hurts because there's a gigantic blade in there, but there's no pain when I play in my shoulder. I used to have bursitis, and it used to hurt after shows. After breaking it in 2 spots and rehabilitating for a year, 16 months now, there's no pain in my shoulder anymore. Okay, and when I relearned to play, it was always with the wrist because I couldn't do this. I couldn't do this with my arm. You know, for a good year, I couldn't do that. So everything I learned was all with the wrist. So then I practiced hard stuff like Charlie Parker solos. Okay, then I harmonized that. And I really took my time because I had nothing else to do. So I really got it together. And that's what I would do because I knew I had all day to get through Donald Lee. I wasn't on any strict practice regimen. And then when I got back and I started realizing that I'm actually going to be able to play again and perform again, then, you know, just practice, practice, practice. I'm getting back out there performing like crazy, and we're doing pretty good. And I feel like I'm better than ever, which is amazing considering what I went through. I'm a very, very lucky man, and I think maybe that has to do with it too, realizing how lucky I am. I like playing rubato. I like rubato. I think rubato is fine. Most people play too fast rubato. Right? Take your time. Let the chords ring out. We get these beautiful guitars and we're rushing through these things. Yeah, Vinny's awesome. We're playing some amazing stuff together now with Gary Mazzaropi on the bass. We have a new trio called the Hot Jazz Guitar Trio. And I'm telling you, we're playing some really, really fun, challenging music. So I did study the George Van Eps style. Howard Alden, as you know, is a big George Van Eps guy. So I've played through all those solos. I met George Van Eps. I got his autograph on his book, which I just recently sent to Howard Alden because him being the biggest George Van Eps fan in the world and they were dear friends, I thought he would appreciate having that. So China, great. I have not been to China. I want to go. We're trying to work it out with Eastman to go over there and do a concert with the symphony. and then do some clinics over there. So, Sentimental Mood. Now here's it's that we were just talking about rock and roll riffs. Right? It's funny that someone tried to sue Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, saying they stole that progression. And the lawyer went in and said it's a 2/5. How can you sue them for a 2/5? Right? Interesting. So, great lawyer. Okay, 9 o'clock. Over and out. Thank you, everyone. Any questions? Frank Vignola Guitar at gmail.com or through my website. And it's all good. Thank you.